Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Coast-to-Coast Combat Hour. I'm your host, Matthew Hawkins, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Ed Carbajal. Ed, how's it going, my man?
Pretty good. Just busy time of year. I got a lot of work at the day job, a lot of work with Spectation Sports. I'm actually finishing that up tonight slash tomorrow. I have one more interview to do with them. For folks that complain that there's no fights on this weekend, I know we got stuff we're going to talk about, but just because I'm affiliated with them, and if you're not subscribed to Spectation Sports, we got the code and everything on the bottom. Cage Titans 65 this weekend is looking to be a pretty fun card. The main and co-main event fighters are all the ones I'm talking to, and I'm actually really dialed into it. So if you need something to watch Memorial Day weekend, Cage Titans out here in the Northeast.
Yep, as you mentioned, fairly slow weekend among the major promotions. Uh, BKFC does have an event on Saturday. They're going back to
Mm-hmm.
Mexico. BKFC's been on a nice little run lately, ton of events. So definitely support them. It's not one of their mega events, but it is it's a fight night card for them. So always
And what
support them as
what
they're growing up right now.
what was I'm forgetting the dude's name that the Mexican boxer that fought on the last big card. And
Angulo.
yeah. I mean, after his win, and then them Feldman hinted at them going to Mexico, and he's kind of like following the Dana White following suit with the UFC. Like he wants to go all in on more Mexican fighters. So that's definitely a card that like should be bookmarked for your watching viewing pleasure this weekend. BKFC in Mexico because there's probably gonna be some talent coming out of there. Um, with especially in bare knuckle. I mean, it seems to be not for nothing, dude. Every bare knuckle is like literally, it's what MMA UFC was like, early 2000s. It's like it seems to be on that level right now. I know Dana White will have you think it's power slap, but I think in the broad spectrum of combat sports fans, it's BKFC.
Yeah, I mean, I think so too. From the moment I attended one, I said this felt like it
Mm,
was the early days, and now it's starting to get some momentum going. So the early 2000s is accurate. They're like working to try to get on like
mhm,
more television, and they're fighting through kind of they're getting legalized slowly, but they're getting recognized now by some bigger states, which obviously opens the door. They fall, this is a fight night. Then they got back to back prospect cards the
mm,
following 2 weeks. And then they have a numbered event, and then they come to my neck of the woods, Temecula, for a fight night. So it really looks like what they're doing is they're kind of going to start it looks like they're going to spend the next couple events, start creating prospects for the future, which is nice the way they do that. We criticize the UFC kind of sometimes for keeping all the stuff in house because we were so
mhm,
used to MMA being spread out. Um, this is kind of nice because while they're trying to create it, in a sense bring back the sport, but create it to the masses now. It's kind of cool. You can actually like get to know the fighters on their way up. They're not fighting in most of them aren't fighting in all these random BK productions.
mhm.
So they're kind of there. So you can kind of watch the show, watch it progress, especially as you mentioned, being a fan
Yeah.
of the Prospect series
Yeah,
earlier.
that's I was gonna say, yeah, that's something too that I ran across that on Fubu Sports, and it just wound up being fun to watch, and that's definitely something that I mean the guys, you look at how combat sports evolves, and all these young guys I talk to coming up, in MMA, you're seeing that in BKFC. It just seems to be happening faster. Maybe it's because of the similarity. It seems faster, but there's guys doing stuff with bare knuckle technique that I'm like, wow, you think it's just guys going toe to toe and swinging for the fences, but there's guys that are coming up that are finding technique in it, and it's just great. I mean, to see martial arts like that evolve is just, I love it. I just love it.
Speaking of boxing, let's look
Mm,
at some real boxing or not real boxing, but gloved boxing, more traditional boxing that happened this weekend. You know, I feel like this kind of flew under the radar more than it should have.
hmm
I know obviously it was a mega boxing event. We had Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, title unification. I didn't realize it until watching the broadcast that it was the first time it's been unified in 25
Yeah,
years since Lennox Lewis Holyfield 2 fight, which I mean I remember like it was yesterday.
yeah.
I just it's and then to have Usyk bounce back after falling behind early, practically getting knocked out on his own, come back, drop Tyson Fury and basically damage him heavily for the last half of the fight.
Mhm.
I mean, a tremendous fight. It was one I was glued to my seat watching. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. I knew what to kind of expect from Fury, but I didn't know exactly how Usyk would stand up to. I know I did Joshua, big man, but I always felt like Tyson Fury, when he was on his game, was almost unbeatable, and Usyk proved that wrong. Won a split decision,
Yeah.
but a resounding split decision. I mean, it wasn't. He won the fight. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. Fury took it well. Imagine this sets up a rematch, but I don't know if you were able to catch the fight or at least read about it. But it was special. It was what I wish we had more of in boxing. If we had two or three of these a year in boxing, boxing would be fun to watch again. It would be dialed in.
Yeah, it's crazy because like the thing that I took away after the fact, watching the highlights and what you said about Fury about him being unbeatable, like I feel like that Fury was the one the one that fought Deontay Wilder and did every like that's the Fury that I think that was the last of that Tyson Fury that we saw. I'm not for nothing. I feel like he's probably been the busiest of all the heavyweights that I've been, at least that in my point of view, because when I pay attention to heavyweight boxing, he seems to always be in the mix. And and then doing it so soon after the Ngannou fight too might have had something to do with it because he did get dropped there. But boxing, man, I mean, those guys carry a lot of damage because of the way the sport works, and I feel like that's one of those sports. It's not like MMA where fighting 3-4 times a year. Depending on how you win, and the damage can be different levels. They all carry damage for over in their careers, but it's definitely more so in boxing. And I know it's something that Paulie Malignaggi used to talk about when guys would bash on boxing about I mean, we already saw reports of two boxers dying just literally in the past couple of weeks. So it's a sport that you know when you win, you might not always come out with a full on win. I think about I forget what Rocky movie it is where he wins his fight, but they test him and he's got they see that he's got CTE and X, Y, and Z, and he's not himself anymore. I think it's Rocky 5, but it's like, man, these guys really do carry a lot of damage over. So like, I mean, I know there's folks that like to do this whole boxing versus MMA and hate on one versus the other, but both sports of guys are putting their health on the line, and I just feel like maybe Tyson Fury, if he thinks he can do the rematch and pick up a W, do it. Give yourself some time first, like take some because when was the time between Ngannou and Usyk? What was it? A couple months? I feel like it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
yeah,
What were we
like
in? What
two
was it?
months, right?
March to April, May. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it wasn't long. So definitely, and I think you're right. I think Fury definitely has been the more active of the majority of those guys, at least the top 4 or 5. The question really is, where does this leave Usyk in the all-time, in the ratings, and I know I think he's moved him to 22-0, perhaps 21-0. I can't recall exactly the number, but
Mhm.
um, he's got wins over Joshua. He's got a win over Fury now. He's got 2 wins over Joshua. Um, the two other best heavyweights of this generation, undefeated. Obviously, he doesn't have 50 wins. It's not some
Mhm.
crazy bloated out record that we saw from the majority of our lives when it came to boxing. Um, I don't know. I don't know. One thing that fascinated, a stat that I saw is, Usyk's like 6'3", 240, something like that.
Mhm.
Um, he's the same size as George Foreman, and George Foreman was he looked like Tyson Fury just about everybody he boxed in boxing. When he
Mhm.
boxed,
Yeah.
so it was kind of eye opening to make you realize, I mean, number one, how big Tyson Fury is, because he really looked like a giant in there over Usyk. Um, but then to realize that if Usyk was transported back 45 years, he would essentially
Mhm.
be the biggest heavyweight in the world. They'd be calling him big, Alexander Usyk, you know,
Yeah.
which is weird when you see him in the ring with these monsters like Joshua and Fury, and he hasn't fought Wilder, but Wilder's another 6'6", monster. I don't know where this puts him. It would be something to have one of our boxing experts on, um, because they would be able to break it down better. But you feel like if you walked away right now, you'd have conversation about being at least the best heavyweight boxer in the last
Yeah.
25 years, 20 years. You start wondering, like, okay, him and Lewis, because now his win over
Mhm.
Fury now opens up, like, well, okay, he could do good against big, tall, rangy boxers,
Mm.
so it opens up that world where I always thought Lennox Lewis and then Tyson Fury, just because of size, always gave him such a huge advantage. But you
Yeah.
saw a smaller guy, in a sense, smaller guy go in there and perform his game and show power, and the only thing he lacked maybe was a little bit of killer instinct, but I see that because it was, obviously he's worried about the counter from
Yeah.
Fury. But that's comparing him to like Vanderlei Silva or
Mhm.
Vitor Belfort, guys who dove in for blood the
Yeah.
minute they saw it, but great fight. And I mean, I enjoyed it. And it's been nice to see some nice boxing pop up and really produce or perform. Like
You
we had
know,
the Haney Garcia. Like, it just feels like the fights have been working lately. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to say. The ingredient for that looks like it's our boy Turkey Alm, whatever his name is from Riyadh. You know what I mean? Like, the guy's got the deepest pockets ever, and it just seems like I mean, look at the. There's already news today, like the UFC already doubled up with the deal they're going to do with them, and holding events over there, and giving rights to broadcast on that side of the world. Um, and I think he was recently on Helwani's show talking about like trying to crush the beef between him and Dana White and Ariel Helwani, just because this guy might be the guy that gives us what we actually want in MMA. Never mind our stuff with the government. Like his pockets are so deep that he could probably deliver us, you know, like Mighty Mouse versus Brandon Moreno or something for some Riyadh title, or you know what I mean? Like we'll get the fights we want to see, just because if he wants to see them, the sky's the limit, because he's whatever offer the UFC counters with, he definitely can top it. Look at they're already bending to his will when it comes to like changing cards up and dates and stuff like that. So it goes to show you that like, I mean, he might be the ultimate global combat sports promoter, like Riyadh season,
He's
you
the only
know?
guy in the world that the UFC deals with that can basically has FU money to the UFC.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, like, he's the only person in the planet that holds that ability with Dana White and those guys when
Yeah.
they're talking. So you bring up a point, and it it's nice. I mean, I'm able to watch it. We're able to figure it out. It's not convenient, obviously, for having a 7:30, 8 o'clock. You're in the East Coast, so everything was running later, so it's all different. But in the time,
Turkey Al Sheik. I
yeah,
want to get his name right because I keep mentioning him and I keep messing
the
up his
turkey
last
guy.
name.
Or
Yeah,
uh,
Turkey Al Sheik. I mean, because he might be the one that makes me like reinvigorates whatever it is we feel we've lost in combat sports, with the fucking TikTok people and all the bullshit happening. Like he might be the guy that makes it fun again.
there's a chance. I mean, so
Yeah, because
far
he's doing it with
it's been
boxing
fun.
already.
He's doing it
Yeah.
with boxing right now. Whether we want to say he's changing UFC cards or not, the UFC cards for Saudi Arabia are looking good right now. I mean, we get to
Yeah.
benefit from that. So, if that's the case, then cool. You bring up a point about him maybe throwing some money around, starting to set up some mega fights. The only thing, like I said, is the time difference. I guess
Hmm.
it kind of becomes West Coast time for you in a sense, like because like the boxing, it would have been a little earlier, but like the Fury fight had to have been around what, like 6:30, 7 o'clock
Yeah, it
your
was it
time.
was it was it was it was yeah, it wasn't bad. I actually didn't mind that. I was still running errands when it happened, but I was checking on my phone for the updates, and I was like, oh, I think it was like 4:30, almost 5 o'clock when they actually set foot in the ring. That's one thing though, like maybe control the production a little more. I know he's just paying for everything, but it's like they still do. One of the complaints I saw about the Usyk Fury thing was, they still do this old school bullshit where they have the grand entrances and the singing and dancing and the musical number. Like nobody wants to see that shit. There's a reason the UFC is the number one like thing that everybody wants to see because they fucking start and they throw the fights at you. You know, they go straight through the card and then you're done. Like there's no bullshit in between.
I don't disagree with you completely, but at the same time, it's different. And I
Yeah.
like that it's different. That
Mm.
you know what you're gonna get. Like you're going to that event to watch one fight. Like if they're gonna spend 30, like if you're not going there, you're not sitting there for 7 hours of prelims like you are
Yeah.
UFC to get to the main event. So if
Yeah.
I'm going to an event and they want to run a 45-minute, it's like the old Pride. Like yeah, there's a 45-minute intro that's gonna kick this show
That's
off.
different though. You
I
can't. You
know,
can't.
I know. It's nostalgic because it's different, but at the
Yeah.
same time, like, yeah, like I don't want to watch some of the entertainers
I'll
there
watch all
because
that shit with pride. I don't know
I
why.
know,
I
I
don't
know,
know
I
why,
know,
but
I know. But I'm just saying, like, I like the difference. I like that. Okay, I know I'm in for like 4 national anthems. I mean, at the time, I might be sitting there kind of going, let's get it on, but I don't mind it. It is what it is. It's boxing. Just let it
Mhm.
be kind of what it is. WWE is already like lowering their their ramps and stuff and their pyros. They're lowering that. Pretty soon it's just going to be old pro wrestling walking out with nothing to match the UFC because they
Mhm.
can save money on fireworks and electricity and
Mhm.
setting up stage. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just a matter of time. I feel like that happens, and I don't want that to happen. I like the pageantry. I like the spectacle of some of that stuff.
Yeah,
Um, can
that
can
I
a lot
get.
of it be trimmed up? I get 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes on a walkout. Cool. I'm good with that, but I do like some of the over the top stuff and stuff like that. Speaking of international fights, Bellator this past Friday, yes, Friday
Friday, yeah.
was in Paris, France.
Paris.
You know, I don't. I'm kind of in a weird space with everything that's going on here.
Yeah.
Uh, I you usually the promotions sucks for these events. Um, they're on at times I'm not able to really watch. I'm at
And
work. It's
and the
very
card was
hard.
good. That's what's
That's the thing that sucks. Like
yeah.
we're promoting Patchy Mix. He's getting hype as like potentially the best bantamweight in the world, and
Mhm.
he's fighting at 12:30 Pacific time on a Friday afternoon
Mhm.
at noon. Like like it just seems like it's terrible idea. It seems like a terrible, terrible idea, to do it like that. International stars, so be it, but your number one guy. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a good argument that Patchy Mix is the number one Bellator fighter right now. And he was
Yeah,
able to
when you
squeak
got
out
all
a
these
win.
UFC heads talking about Patchy Mix, then he's getting noticed. Yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps the fight, I was able to catch some of it, but it didn't look like it was the most spectacular thing in the world. Perhaps this wasn't the one to showcase Patchy Mix to the world, but at the same time, like everybody has down fights. Some people just win fights. It's not always pretty.
I don't know if it was down for him. I mean, I was still impressed with his resilience to keep on attacking, even when it looked like Magomed was or Magomed Kirov, however he's whatever Magomed combination of Magomed his name. I always mess his name up too, but like during that fight, like there was moments where it looked like with especially with his takedowns when he would get Patchy Mix on his back and the constant attacking even from those positions. So he was just better prepared because now he knew what to look for. He actually got caught twice once in the similar guillotine and then in another variation of it. And the fact that he fought it off the way that he did, like to the point that it was really in there. I think it was the first. I don't remember if it was the first or second one. I think it was the first one because he actually laid on the side to drop weight on the choke, which is how you finish it. And I don't know how. I mean, I have an idea of how Magomed flipped him to get the weight off of his neck, so so he could get blood flowing at least one carotid and not get put out again, and then just grind out of it. I mean, it was. I thought it was a great showing. I honestly, I didn't. I found the fight really entertaining because of his resilience, and I didn't disagree with the split decision at all. I thought. I mean, you lose to a guy and you fight him again, you're going to come back better prepared. I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I just didn't. A lot of people thought I saw a lot of people saying that Magomedov won the fight, but that maybe
Well, it depends.
obviously
It
a
depends
close
on who's
fight's a
looking
close
though.
fight.
That even during the broadcast, the guys were saying, sorry, I thought I heard something in my. The guys were saying, I think it was O'Connell, and then I forget who was on the mic with him. Oh, O'Connell and Hardy were saying you don't know what the judges know and what they're looking at. Like yes, there's criteria and all that stuff. I know all the reporters that took the fucking courses in Vegas think they know how to judge and everything now, but Wheelock told us the best version of it is it all depends on where you're sitting, where you're looking, and what your own knowledge is. And that's the fear of leaving it to the judge. Like that's why everyone says to go for a finish. Don't leave it to the judge because you never know who's looking and what their depth of knowledge is. Yeah, sure, they might have passed all the tests and they got their little card or whatever, but you still don't know their depth of knowledge. And it looks like they had some savvy, at least grappling intelligent judges at that event because Mix got the nod. But I get that too. I get why people think Magomed won because of. I mean, if you're looking at control aspects, I mean, he was controlling the pace and he was on top a lot. So, like, if that was in Vegas, if that fight was in Vegas, I think he would have
Megamed
won.
probably wins.
Yeah.
I saw it 3 rounds to 2. It wasn't like
Hmm.
it was a robbery. I wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. But um, Cedric Doumbé picks up a big win, needed win in the co-main event.
Mm.
Better fight than I expected with Jaleel Willis. Willis came game. You know, probably the worst thing he did was probably drop Doumbé early because it probably gave him a level of confidence that
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily warranted. And in the short run, thereafter, Doumbé manages to get a referee stoppage with about 40 unanswered
Hmm.
strikes. Good win. Looks like
I
he's
like that
lined
he came in with the vacuum cleaner when he walked in because
up.
the
Oh, the
folks went
glass
at
on
his
the
little.
ground.
Yeah, that was good. That was good on his part.
So it looks like they're scheduled working to line him up to face Anthony Pettis, which will be a cool fight. Pettis coming off of having a boxing win over Roy Jones will probably give him the vision that he wants to stand in front of Doumbé. I don't think that's a really good decision. I think that's equivalent to standing in front of Bahia or a
Yeah.
bunch of these other guys that we're
Yeah.
seeing right now that are doing a really good job in the world of MMA between Adesanya and the transition to MMA has been really good lately. So he had some good sprawls in that fight, which is good to see because obviously when you get a guy with these striking and this kind of hands and kicks
Hmm.
and elbows and knees, everything when you got that there and they can learn some takedown defense, it can become extremely exciting. So
For sure.
I don't exactly know where Bellator's going. I know we got a couple more events down the line here,
Yeah.
but we'll just have to see how that unfolds.
Hey Antoine, what's up? Yeah, we were away for a bit, but we're back now. We're trying to keep up with the schedule. Sometimes we gotta last minute put stuff off. It was on me this past weekend, but hopefully we can get back to our regularly scheduled programming with the podcast here. One thing I want to say about that Bellator Paris event, and tell me if you noticed it or not, but it looked a little bit slightly more Bellator-ish than the previous event that looked more PFL. Like they had the round cage, which they always have, but there was like more black, more of the Bellator branding. And also, did you think the cage was a little small? I felt like it was smaller than what we're used to seeing in
I'd have to
Bellator.
watch it again. Like I said,
Yeah,
I was catching fights that I was trying. The
yeah.
couple fights on the card that I wanted to watch. I kind of was working between my time at work to catch those. So I didn't get that. I did not notice Michael C. Williams was back, which was
That's what made me feel that. Yeah,
I mean, it was nice to see because
yeah.
that was one of the questions I asked when we first started here is are we PFL Bellator or is it Bellator? And I'm okay with the play-by-play guys not being the Bellator guys, especially
Mhm.
because at the end it was John McCarthy and you know
Well,
whoever else was filling in the booth kind of with him.
somehow they've managed to find a way to squeeze in John McCarthy, which to me, I'm just, I don't know, I don't know why that keeps happening.
you know, yeah. Um, so I think that kind of does it. I mean, I guess looking back real quick, we didn't get a chance to talk about 301.
Mm,
Again, I had plans that night. I win though in the main event for Pantoja. Keeps moving along with his run. Jose Aldo picks up a nice win. And I mean, I guess Anthony Smith, quick sub, was probably the surprise of the night for me.
mm.
Um, you know, Pahea picked up a win. I mean, some good, fun
I was happy
fights.
for Anthony Smith. Um, we got a question from Antoine here. How do you guys feel about UFC 304? I think it's the best MMA event in martial arts history. Is that the
No,
one you're
man.
going to?
No, no, no. That's Leon Edwards and Bilal Muhammad.
Mm,
No, no, not better than 300. Not better than
yeah.
uh, yeah, no, not better than a bunch of the Pride events from back in the day for sure. I mean, it's two good, nice fights. But no, Blades and Aspinall, and I don't think so. I haven't. I'd have to look down the whole card, but no
Mm.
way. I can't imagine it's anywhere
Yeah, I
capable.
haven't looked that far ahead
I
because
mean, I know Patty Pimblett and Bobby Green's a good fight,
mhm.
but no. I'm focused right now, and we got 302 around the corner on June
Which
1.
seems to be flip flopping left and right. I mean, no, I feel like Nolan King's probably about to blow his own brains out with all the changes in that card that he's reported. I don't even know who's on it anymore. I think as long as the main event stays intact, then we're good.
Yeah, I mean
It is
that's
in
kind of
Newark.
well. I mean, the good thing for you is at least you have a. I mean, I've already lost Roundtree
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Hill for 303, so I'm. It looks like it's gonna be UFC King of the Cage with the main event of Conor McGregor versus Michael
Yeah.
Chandler.
UFC
Uh,
King of the Cage. I like it, especially after the last guest we had. It's pretty good. Pretty good throwback.
all right, well, yeah, so we'll get back on track again next week. Thanks for listening, everybody. You can check out the show on Twitter at Combat Hour, Coast to Coast Combat Hour on Instagram. Follow me, Matthew Hawkins, at MMA Hawk 21 on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Ed at Carbazol on Twitter, Carbeerzol on Instagram, and Old Head Carb on Twitch. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a good night.
Peace.